Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Effectively Mastering Invoicing. Today we will show you how you can get digitized, automated and compliant across borders. Before we start into the real content, I want to give you an overview of your speakers today. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ludwig Jahrstorfer. I'm responsible at SupplyOn for the product strategy for invoicing and P2P. And with me in the webinar is my colleague Arvid Holzwarth. Arvid Holzwarth is sales manager here at SupplyOn and will assist me later on with a customer reference from a real project. But I will come to this later on. Okay, before we start, some organizational topics. You are muted, but you have a voice. You can write questions and feedback in the questions box during the webinar. You will find that on the questions button here. And there will be also a Q&A at the end of the webinar. So in case you have any questions, just type it in the chat box. And then later on, we will come to the questions and they will not get lost, trust me. And we will have time for the Q&A later on. If you have any technical issues and you need technical support, then you can address also these technical issues via the question box, the same box as the normal questions. And you do not need to make screenshots, don't worry. You can download the slides during the webinar. You will find the button here, which is called Apps, and there you see the item handouts. If you click on that, then you have the possibility to download the slides. And the session will be recorded, so you will get an email afterwards with an access link to the recording. So whenever you want to show it to other colleagues in your company, you can do so via the email and the access link. Okay, so what can you expect during this webinar? What will be the content of today? We will give you an overview of the current challenges in global invoicing based on 3 main areas. First of all is digitization. So digitization is, let's say, more or less the starting point of the whole P2P journey. So you need to get your invoices digitized. And we see that this is still a challenge for most companies to have all the invoices in a digital and machine readable format. So digitization is the first main area we want to tackle today. Next is automation. So once you have digitized the invoices, you want to automate the invoice process. So your accounts payable process should be automated and you want to book your invoice without touching it. And we also see that here, that is still a challenge for companies really to get high auto booking rates. And third, in this list here, and also a main area, is this topic around the country compliance. I think you're familiar. You're doing business not only in your local country, but all over the world. And you see this is more and more countries are introducing so-called clearance mandates, CTC mandates, and the country rules are getting more and more. And it's getting complicated out there to follow all these rules. So we will show you not only the challenges out there, of course, we will also show you the possibilities, how you can face these challenges. And there is a chance to turn them really into chances. So it's not always a challenge. It can also be a chance for you to take this and get the benefit out of that. Okay, so before we start, speaking of chances, I already told you there are chances out there. A recent study shows huge saving potentials out there. So by adopting electronic and automated invoicing processes, businesses can achieve cost reductions of 60 to 80% compared to traditional paper-based systems, with a return on investment typically realized within 1.5 to 1.5 years. So this is really a strong statement here. And this is not something I made out in my mind. I took this out from the Bilentis report, which came out this year. And you see the potential is out there. You have huge saving potentials in accounts payable and invoicing, 60 to 80%. When you just follow, simple rules. It sounds easy, but I will come later to the topics how you can achieve that. And the return on investment, we're not talking about 10 years or so. So it's really a short time where you can save your, get your money back, which you invested. So half to 1.5 years is not much time. And yeah, like I said, the potential is out there. We just have to use it. Okay, coming to the first area. What's the matter with digitization? Why is it complicated? Our experience shows that companies still receive the majority of the invoices in a paper or PDF format. Problem is, paper is not a digital format and it's unstructured. And now you can say, yeah, PDF, it's already digital. Yeah, it's digital, but it's not machine readable. You cannot read it out automatically. You first need to convert it into a structured and machine readable format. So the results are high manual workload for turning these unstructured invoices into machine readable ones, and high costs for your accounts payable department. So you have to invest in a lot of people sitting there and handling paper, PDF invoices. First of all, digitize them, and then handling it through your accounts payable process. So that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and in the end, it costs you money. And the bad thing here is, in addition, the people sitting there, they have no time for the real value-added tasks. So they have no time for strategic topics because they're stuck in the daily operations. And first of all, digitize all the invoices which came in paper or PDF formats. So in the area of digitization, the goal should be 100%. It's simple as that. I mean, you can say we will never reach 100%, but that should be the goal. You can digitize all your inbound invoice processes if you want. You can get rid of paper and PDF if you want. Later on, we will show you how that can work in real life. Okay, next of all is the automation. Automation of accounts payable process. What's the matter here? In theory, 100% of invoice automation is possible. You can book all your invoices without touching it. So in theory, I know a lot of you will say we will never reach that goal, but set it as a goal. You have the chance to get 100% invoice automation. The reason why it is in most cases not possible, and this is what we see out there a lot when we talk to customers and doing projects, is the main thing is the invoice does not match to the purchase order. And it must not be necessarily the purchase order. It can also be that it doesn't match to the goods receipt or the order confirmation. So purchase order is just one of the demand data. Invoice comes in, does not match to demand data like the purchase order. So you have a mismatch, quantity, price deviation, things like that, and you cannot book it automatically. Someone needs to take care of the invoice, someone needs to manually handle it, someone needs to approve it. So it's a manual task necessary. You have to touch the invoice, long workflows are necessary, etc., etc. So this is a main issue here. Another issue is that some of the invoices do not have a purchase order at all. So you see, purchase to pay process as a whole is really necessary here. So you need to start, first of all, with the purchase order. And then later on, if the invoice is perfectly matching the purchase order, you do not need to look again at the invoice because it matches to the purchase order and it can be booked automatically. But if you have no purchase order, then you have an issue. You cannot book it automatically. Third example here is that you get an invoice, but you do not have the goods receipt. So the items are not there. So you need to wait. You have the invoice lying there on the table. It cannot be booked because the goods or the items are not there. And the result is always high manual efforts in accounts payable to validate and approve all those invoices. As I said before, someone needs to sit there. Long workflows are necessary to manually validate and approve. And this takes time and this takes a lot of effort. And what we see that the touchless booking rates are often below 20%. So that means not even 20% of the invoices can be booked directly without touching it. And yeah, I do not want to overstress the topic, but you need high manual efforts to validate all those invoices. And the goal should be here, and I will be now realistic, is an automation rate above 90%. And these are not rocket science. This is possible. You can reach that level of automation, but only with a seamless purchase-to-pay process. So when you start really at the first P of the P2P and ending it with the payment, the invoicing process, then you have a fully automated purchase-to-pay process, and then you can reach 90% automation rate. Okay, so imagine in an ideal world, we talk now about digitization. Imagine you will get 100% digitization. All your invoices are digitized now. Then imagine, okay, we're doing a project and the automation is above 90%. So perfect. So we can go home now. It's everything is completed. As you can imagine, unfortunately not. There's still one more issue. It's the third pillar here in this webinar. The different country regulations. So you're doing business out there in the world and you're doing business in different countries. So this is why you have different country regulations. You need to follow the different legislations out there. And this is driving complexity even more because you have to be compliant with all those countries you're doing business in. Okay, what's the matter with compliance in the global, on a global landscape? As I said, more and more countries, they're introducing so-called CTC mandates or invoicing mandates. CTC stands for Continuous Transaction Controls. It's even hard to say. And that means that this is a near real-time reporting. You send an invoice and the government, they want to have tax data out of the invoice in near real time. It's not as we do, for example, in Germany post-audit, where we're doing the tax at the end of a business year. No, these governments want to have it in real time. And some of them not even introduce CTC mandates. They're also introducing invoicing next to it. It's a good thing because you have then digital files. Okay, but coming back to the topic, more and more countries are doing or introducing more and more regulations. This leads to increasing complexity, because not every country is the same, so they are different from one another. For example, what you have in Italy is different from what you have in China or in India or in Mexico. So around the globe, there are different country regulations and they are not always the same and they do not follow the same rules or the same logic, which is driving complexity, unfortunately, here. So staying compliant becomes a challenge when you're doing business globally or in more countries. And the goal should be also here 100% compliance across borders and realizing potentials for digitization and automation. And here the 100% is very crucial because it's a legal topic. You need to be compliant. So getting or achieving 100% is really something which must be achieved here. Okay, so we have heard a lot of the challenges now. Implementing digitization, automation is complex. Especially when you have to maintaining this country compliance topic we just talked about. So overall, I would say, or my recommendation is you need an expert for these topics, a company or a provider who is able to combine all those things together. And coming now to what SupplyOn is able to offer you here. SupplyOn is the interface between you and your suppliers for all supply chain related processes. So you see now on the screen the full portfolio, what we offer. So we have coming from supplier management, from source to contract, supply chain collaboration, to the newly added ESG service we have in our portfolio. So you see, it's a broad portfolio, what we offer, but this webinar is about invoicing. So we're focusing really on the finance processes. I just wanted to give you an overview of what we are doing at SupplyOn, but this should be not a company presentation. This webinar is about invoicing. Okay, coming back to digitization. So what can SupplyOn offer you here? So imagine you have you as your company on the one side, and you have your suppliers on the other side. Today, I think you will get most of the invoices in paper or PDF format, and with some bigger suppliers, you may have machine-to-machine connections like EDI, which is good. I do not want to stress it. It's a good thing if you have already established machine-to-machine. But the problem with the first two communication channels and the first two formats is paper and PDF, they are not digital and not machine readable. So again, someone needs to sit there and convert them into a structured file. EDI is good and machine to machine, but you have initial efforts setting this up. You need to have an initial agreement with each of your supplier, and probably it's only worth to do it for the bigger ones. Okay, coming now to the real topic, what SupplyOn is doing for you. So it's the same scenario, your suppliers on the one side, your company on the other side, but now you have a provider like SupplyOn in between. And what are we doing? We connect your suppliers to SupplyOn invoicing, and they have multiple ways to do that. They can do also machine to machine, which we use for the bigger ones, but they have also more simplified channels like a CSV or Excel upload or an XML upload. Or for the smaller ones, they have a web front end, a web UI, where they can log on, they can see all the purchase orders, they can flip it over into an invoice. So they always have 100% data accuracy. So they have the purchase order or the ASN, for example, the advanced shipping note, and they can flip that over into an invoice, and all the data will be automatically there. So all these channels are digitized already. So you see, we already get digitized channels, and this conversion into a finalized customer invoice, this is something we are doing. We convert those invoices in a digital and machine readable invoice, and then we send over one single format to you as a company. So it doesn't matter how many suppliers you have and in which channels they send invoices. We collect all of them and we put it into one standardized format for you, and that is always digital and always machine readable. And we are doing this also with AI-based digitization. So for example, we have an intelligent line item pairing, line item matching. So if you get invoices with purchase order reference and we have a lot of line items on the invoice, we compare that and we map that into what has been on the purchase order, so that this is always correlating to one another. This is one example for an AI tool we are using at SupplyOn. And the goal of digitization has been reached for you. You get everything in a digital file and in a machine readable one. No one needs to sit there digitizing all those invoices for you. Yeah, and the goal is SupplyOn, and what we are doing is SupplyOn is supporting you to become this 100% digitized here. There's also a benefit for the suppliers here. So you would probably say, yeah, they need to put the invoice in those channels. Yeah, of course, they need to do something. They need to follow the rules, let's say, but they have also a benefit of it. What we do is we're not sending you invoices. We're also taking the status of your company, of your ERP, so the internal processing status, for example, the document has been received, if the payment is planned, etc. And we will forward the status to the suppliers, so they can log on anytime to SupplyOn and see where's my invoice, what's the status of my invoice. So this leads to 100% transparency for the suppliers, and this reduces also inquiries at your company. So you do not get a lot of phone calls or emails with suppliers who are asking, when do I get my money? Where is my invoice? When will it get paid? So they can see it all at SupplyOn with full transparency, and this is a benefit, I would say, for both suppliers and your company. Okay, so let's move on to the automation. What are we doing here? I already said that everything starts with the purchase order. So we take the purchase order from your company, forward it to the supplier, and then if the supplier wants to create an invoice, he can take the data out from the purchase order, for example, with a PO flip, and flip it over to an order confirmation. So you can say, okay, I fully confirm that I will ship all these goods to you. And this is also part of SupplyOn. So we offer, for example, an order confirmation within our supply chain collaboration service. And the order confirmation is already fully matching the purchase order. And then again, we take those data out of the, for example, order confirmation, can also be the ASN, for example, and take it over into an invoice. So the result is that you have a high quality invoice, which is fully matching to the purchase order. So you can be sure the data are corresponding to one another and the information. And we also help the supplier in the invoicing creation process. That's why I wrote here AI-based data pre-filling. So what are we doing, for example? We have an intelligent text data prediction, which based on historical data or on input patterns, we offer the supplier tax rates which might be the correct ones. So we're not giving any tax advice, but we say based on your historical usage and on patterns in the historical tasks, this might be, and also, of course, due to the countries in which you're sending invoices and with the goods which are on the invoice, we offer or we predict what could be the right tax amount. And we also do the same for bank account, for example, and a lot of other data. So we already pre-filling a lot of data for the supplier, so it's easy for them to create an invoice. He do not need to type really everything on his own. A lot of the data is already there. He just needs to confirm it. And then we're taking this invoice data, and as I said, we validate it. So we validate it against the purchase order. We validate it against the country he's in and the country he's sending the invoice to. So country-specific rules will be validated from SupplyOn side. And once all these checks are complete and everything is okay, we will send the final invoice over to you as a company, and you will have an automated file which you can book automatically without touching anything. And this, the last thing on the purchase to pay process is the payment. And for you as a company, you get automation rates above 90%. That is the magic behind it, and that is how we are doing it. Just simply following this purchase to pay approach, and then you have an invoice which is perfectly matching to the preceding documents, and it can be auto-booked in your system. Okay, let's not forget the country compliance. I already told you what SupplyOn is doing here. We are covering country-specific tax regulations in all major regions. You see it here on the screen. We have over 30 countries where we have tax compliant rule sets. That means country rule sets. We, when a supplier, for example, from Italy is sending an invoice to the US or from the US to Germany, we always take a look what country pairing is this, and then we apply the rules which needs to be applied to these countries. And then, for example, in France, you always have to write the payment due date on the invoice, and that is something we check if it's a French invoice. And there are more. So we have 30 countries here which we are validating and where we have rule sets. And we also cover the so-called CTC countries I have already talked about. So we're already covering some, and some are already on the roadmap, so that will be fulfilled once they going live. For example, we have a solution for China Golden Tax. It's a big market in China for, I hope, most of you. And we have Malaysia, for example, India, Italy, Mexico. For all those countries, we have so-called clearance solutions, add-ons to the normal invoicing that we are able to support the local clearance or CTC process, however you want to call it. And there are others who are already on the roadmap for us. So, for example, in Europe, it's one of our core markets. It's France, Spain, who are planning to introduce a CTC model. Germany will start next year, 2025, with an e-invoicing mandate. It will be an intermediate phase from 2025 to 27 and 28. All German invoices should be digitized, so no paper PDF allowed. And SupplyOn is already in developments for this solution. So we will be compliant with the new German mandate. If you have business in Germany and you're interested in the solution, just reach out to us. We can tell you what we will do there. And especially in Germany, it's a solution add-on where we can cover 100% of the invoices. So full supplier invoices can be routed via SupplyOn. And this is a good thing. So Germany is going away from paper PDF. And this is why I said in the beginning, take the chances out of it. You have now a digital file, and you can work with these machine-readable files. You just need someone who is able to read the file. And then the next thing is automation, of course. And last but not least in the list, I also want to mention is this VIDA initiative. VIDA stands for VAT in the digital age. It's an European Union initiative. To be honest, I don't know when it will go live. It was planned for 28, then rumors said 2030. Now I heard already 2032. So whenever it will go live, we are prepared. We will support VIDA here with our invoicing solution. So you see, overall, we're covering those CTC countries, and with our solutions, we take the chance out of that. So SupplyOn is ensuring you in global country compliance in, as I said, more than 30 countries, 31 countries. And in addition, with product add-ons for these so-called continuous transaction controls countries. Okay. Last but not least, a small calculation which just giving you a hint what the huge saving potentials the Bilentis report showed, how this can look like. So imagine you have 1 million invoices a year, and it takes you about 20 minutes in average to process and validate an invoice. Really from the first beginning, from the digitization process, if you have OCR, and then to put it into your accounts payable system, to maybe have a workflow. So 20 minutes, just an average time. And your AP staff has an hourly rate of 40 euros. And with SupplyOn, with the help of SupplyOn invoicing, you can reduce your the invoices which needs to be checked manually up to 90%. So an automation rate of 90%. That would generate savings of 12 million euros per year. So this is proof of what the Bilentis study has showed you in the beginning of the webinar, just in a calculation example. Okay, so I have told now a lot of theoretical background, of challenges, of benefits, what SupplyOn can offer you. If you want to know how this can look like in real life with a real company, in a real project, then I would suggest that we now move on from theory to practice, and my colleague Arvid, he will show you how our customer Airbus has successfully achieved an invoice automation rate over 90% and how they are generating tremendous savings here. So Arvid, I will hand over to you.
Thank you, Ludwig, for the good handover. I want to introduce myself. My name is Arvid. I've been working for SupplyOn since 2008. I used to be the project manager for Airbus for the Purchase to Pay project at the time. And I want to talk a little bit about the successes which we jointly accomplished as one project team together with Airbus and the affected suppliers. So, as Ludwig already mentioned, Airbus at the time reached auto booking rates of above 90%, far above 90%, which was extraordinary compared to the basis they came from. Meaning that most of the invoices were automatically 100% quality and could be booked without problems into the backend system of the customer. And this means less manual work. So Airbus, for example, they saved a high 2-digit number of people who before did nothing else than checking manually the invoices, which is not a value in itself if you can secure the quality upfront already at the supplier. And this is the foundation of how our integrated purchase-to-pay solution works. Moreover, we do something good for the environment because our electronic invoicing means that no paper is needed anymore. It's good to reduce the carbon footprint. It saves the customer a lot of money. And in the end, it secures holistic, digitalized, integrated solutions. And this is what is at the heart of SupplyOn. Now looking at the supplier, what is the big benefit for the supplier? They have the same hotline like the customer. They have the same integrated solution. They don't need to switch media. It's media break free. The invoice will be already checked before sending it. And they will get their money earlier. And this is truly an advantage if you get your money earlier. So this is beneficial for both sides. And now let's move a little bit to the success factors. What are the success factors? And here, what really pays off is if you have strong top management attention, like it was the case at Airbus from the very beginning, where even Klaus Richter, the CPO, was standing behind the project and pushing this forward. The second factor, of course, is a good and sound planning. This has to be aligned between SupplyOn and the customer, but also with the pilot suppliers. So best practice is to have motivated pilot suppliers from the very beginning who then are engaged for the different invoicing channels and who then work in a consistent manner to get the solution up and running. Because in the end, what pays off is a solution which is being used in real life. And that's what we accomplished. Another factor which I don't want to miss is the teams, the interdisciplinary teams, if problems come up. So Airbus didn't only work with finance department and with procurement, but also with the IT department, with change management. And in the end, this altogether was a very successful project. If you now look, how can that be leveraged for you and your company? I want to make you an offer. Please contact me. I would be honored and help you to discuss your needs and to look at your input data, calculate an ROI, looking at your business case, proposing a small pilot ideally, and then how that can develop step by step. You're quarterly invited to get shared the best practice experience from SupplyOn alongside with the whole SupplyOn team. And you'll get my contact data later. This will be shared. And with that information, I encourage you to contact me and I give back to the studio. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Arvid, for this interesting insight in the Airbus project. And you see, Airbus is just one example of many projects we did with big and also smaller customers. And they have achieved an automation rate over 90%, and it's possible. I already told you in the beginning, it's not something magic. It can happen if you're just doing a good project, if everything is on board, how Arvid told us here. And yeah, in the end, we are a provider of a software, but we do not want to just sell the software and then go home. We want to work with the customer and doing projects together and not giving advices and best practices from other customers. That's this community approach we're always forcing. And yeah, this is our approach at SupplyOn, and we want to have you as customers more than 1 year. We want to have a long-term relationship with you. And with Airbus, this is really a successful project. And thanks, Arvid, for the insights. I have some questions here in the chat, and I promised you in the beginning that we have a Q&A. So I will come to those questions and answer it, and hope you will be satisfied with my answers. So first of all, someone wrote, will it be possible for SupplyOn to process all invoices in a CTC country, also from suppliers who are not onboarded to SupplyOn? The simple answer is yes, we are possible to take all the invoices from the suppliers in the so-called clearance or CTC or invoicing countries like Germany, for example. So in Germany, we due to this new digitized format, so all invoices will be in a structured file. In Germany, for example, Zugpferd-X-Rechnung. And from January next year on, we will be able to accept Zugpferd-X-Rechnung as an invoice. Due to the fact that everything is digital and no paper PDF, we are now, for us, it is now possible to really accept 100% of the invoices, even if the supplier is not registered at SupplyOn. And we can do the validation checks for all those invoices. We have a product designed here, and for us, we take the data out from your ERP system and validate it against the invoice. Nevertheless, it's a supplier who is working or is registered or not. So yes, I can answer that question with the yes. We can process 100% of your invoices in the so-called CTC countries. And that's a huge step forward also for SupplyOn. So the coverage is 100%, and that is, I would say, a major milestone also for SupplyOn. The next question here is it possible for SupplyOn to perform customer-specific validation checks on an invoice? Yes, this is also possible. We have 3, I would say, validation types we are performing. First of all is the legal checks. So we check the invoice if it's legally compliant, so if it doesn't match all the country regulations. Next thing is we're doing business validations. So it means, does the invoice match to the preceding document like the purchase order? And the third one is we can do customer-specific validations. So in case you have any validations you want to have checked on an invoice, our invoicing solution is highly configurable. So that means you can design your own rules. We can apply them, and it's up to you to add more rules. So it's really flexible, our system, and we can do also, of course, customer-specific checks. And in almost all of our projects, we did so. So this is not uncommon. For us, it's a daily business. Another question is SupplyOn able to support paper and PDF invoices? There you have me. Yes, we are possible also to support those types. I did not put it on the slides. I know that it is a critical topic for a lot of you. I mean, you have to see our channels at SupplyOn. They are already digital. So we supporting for smaller suppliers. We have a good UI, a modern UI. They can use bigger ones, machine to machine, or these upload files. But we are also supporting PDF, for example. But in the background, we are just modernizing the solution. We are going away from an old approach to a new approach, and the new approach is fully AI-based. So with this new technology available now, probably you've heard about Gen AI or large language models. With this new technology available out there in the market, it is possible for SupplyOn to design a new solution, and which is reducing a lot of manual work, because PDF invoices, they always need to be verified after the extraction. You'd never get 100%, or in this case, you never get 100%. But in the past, you maybe had extraction rates about 40 to 50%, which was already good for an OCR. But this is for SupplyOn, this is too less. We want to have extraction rates here up to 80 or 90%. So that's why we are designing now a new solution with a new AI-based approach. And this is why I did not want to advertise it too much here. But stay tuned, there will come something from SupplyOn side. And I hope that we are shortly able to present you also this as an additional inbound channel next to the ones we already have. But for you as a customer, again, nothing will change. You will get always digital machine readable file in the same format you want to have. If it's an EDI connection we build up to you, or it's an iDoc, whatever you want to have, you will get from SupplyOn. But we make the lives of those suppliers a little bit easier who are still want to stick on old formats like PDF or even paper. Okay. There are no more questions in the chat. So now we are finished with the webinar, with the official part. So thank you very much for listening, for clicking in this webinar. You will receive an email afterwards with contact details and the recording of the webinar. And you have the contact details from my colleague Arvid. And if you have any questions or you want to have a deep dive follow-up, just reach out to us. We are available. Also, I am available, and I'm happy to talk to you about your invoicing projects or what you have planned. Also, in regards with the upcoming mandates like Germany, for example, if you have any questions, and it must not be always selling, it can always be a consulting call where we just give you some advice. So we're happy to talk to you. Happy remaining week. I hope some of you are watching the European Soccer Championship. I think today Portugal is playing. So enjoy the rest of the week and have a good time. See you next time at SupplyOn. Thank you.